My sister smirked and said I had 3 days to leave my own house, so I gave her 24 hours to pack and get out. Hi, my name is Vanessa, and I am 29. This story is about the day my own sister tried to push me out of the very home that was not only legally mine, but was also the last physical piece of my grandmother that I had left. The house was not just bricks and mortar to me. It was a 2-story brick colonial with ivy crawling up the walls and purple hydrangeas blooming every spring. It was the place where my childhood summers were spent, where I had laughed on the porch with my grandmother, and where I had found safety whenever the rest of the world felt unkind. And yet, that night at the dinner table, my sister sat across from me, smirking like she had already won some unspoken war, and told me I had 3 days to leave. But stories like this do not begin at the moment someone gives you a deadline to abandon your home. No, they begin in the small cracks of family life, in the favors given freely to one sibling but not the other, in the silences that hurt more than words, in the kind of betrayal that creeps up quietly over years. I was the older sister by 4 years. Lauren, my 25-year-old sister, was what my mother always called the charming one. She was cute, agreeable, and just rebellious enough to seem fun without ever truly upsetting our parents. I, on the other hand, was bookish, serious, and, according to my family, always trying to prove something. It was no secret who the golden child was. Lauren could skip classes, sneak boys into the house, and rack up credit card debt, and our parents would excuse it as youth and figuring things out. Meanwhile, I got grounded once for getting an A+ in algebra because my father thought I was showing off. I went straight from college into architecture, eventually joining a historic preservation firm. The pay was small, the hours were long, but I loved my work. My grandmother understood me in a way the rest of my family never did. She never said it out loud in front of my parents, but in quiet moments, she told me she admired my strength. When she became ill, I was the one who took her to appointments, sat with her during chemo, and changed her sheets. Lauren visited once, bringing a Starbucks coffee and a boyfriend she introduced like we were hosting a party. When my grandmother passed away, everything changed. She had lived in that ivy-covered house until the very end. At the will reading, I was not surprised when she left the house to me. It was in her own handwriting, witnessed and notarized. She told me she wanted the house to stay with someone who saw it as a home, not a bargaining chip. My parents did not take it well. My mother said the house should have been left to the family, not hoarded by me. My father accused me of manipulating a dying woman. Lauren pouted and said it was unfair because she had planned to use the house as her wedding venue. But I did not budge. For 2 years, I lived there alone. I restored the porch, replanted the garden, and fixed the cracked tiles in the kitchen. Every penny I earned went into keeping that house alive. I hosted dinners for friends and spent evenings on the porch, watching the seasons change. It felt like my safe place again. Then life threw me a curveball. My company downsized, and I was one of the first to lose my job. I tried freelancing, but projects were scarce. Eventually, I took a job that paid half of what I used to earn just to keep the lights on. That was when my parents stepped in. They offered to help, suggested I rent out the upstairs rooms, and even let Lauren and her husband Zach stay for a while since they were saving money. My gut told me to say no, but I was tired and financially stressed, so I agreed. At first, it was fine. But like ivy creeping up a wall, they slowly took over. Lauren and Zach moved into the master suite. Their things filled the kitchen. My parents began showing up often, staying late, and even sleeping over without asking. When I tried to set boundaries, I was met with condescending concern. "Oh, sweetie, we're just helping you out. You seem so stressed," my mother would say. Then one day I came home to find a new nameplate on the front door that read the Smith residence, Smith being Lauren's married name. I ripped it down immediately. Lauren accused me of being ungrateful because she had paid the last 2 months of utilities without telling me. Soon, she was hosting dinner parties as if the house was hers. She boxed up my grandmother's china and replaced it with a tacky modern set. My parents backed her at every step. Then came the dinner. The table was set with my grandmother's linen napkins, candles, and wine I couldn't afford. Zach sat at the head of the table, my grandmother's seat. My father clinked his glass and said warmly, "Vanessa, dear, maybe it's time you consider moving out. A fresh start could be good for you." Before I could answer, Lauren leaned in, smirking. "You have 3 days to leave the house." Zach chuckled. "It's nothing personal, Vanessa." My mother said nothing. I felt my hands tremble under the table, not from fear, but from pure, controlled anger. I reached into my bag, pulled out a folder, and placed it on the table. Inside were the property records, title deed, and tax history, all in my name. I stood up, looked them each in the eye, and said calmly, "Actually, you all have 24 hours. The room went silent. I walked away, heart pounding but face steady. Upstairs, I locked my door and sat on the bed with the deed beside me like a shield. I did not sleep that night. By morning, Lauren knocked on my door cheerfully, as if nothing had happened. "Let's not be dramatic," she said. "We were just trying to help you see the bigger picture." I said nothing. Downstairs, they had gathered like a war council. My father said I was being selfish. My mother said I had always been controlling. I dropped another envelope on the table, emails from my grandmother's lawyer, and a private letter she had written to me, warning that my family might try exactly this. The documents were ironclad, including a clause in the trust giving me the right to pursue legal damages if anyone tried to coerce me into giving up the house. My father turned red. "This is nonsense," he said. I looked at the clock. "You now have 21 hours. Zach slammed his fist on the counter. "You're really going to kick out your own family over a house?" I tilted my head. "It's not just a house. It's my grandmother's home. And you tried to steal it from me over dinner." When he tried to step closer, I pulled out my phone and hit record. "Any threats will be documented. Any refusal to leave will be reported. I have already spoken to my attorney." He backed off. The next morning, their room was empty. They had taken bags and a few sentimental items. The note they left read, "Family is forever, even when you're acting like this."
No epalegi.
They tried smearing me on Facebook, posting vague messages about betrayal. Some relatives reached out, but when I told them the truth, they went quiet. 2 weeks later, Lauren tried contesting the will in court. She lost spectacularly. The judge called it a waste of resources and ordered her to pay my legal fees. After that, the silence from my family was complete. Months passed. I filled the house with light and peace again. I adopted a rescue dog named Ivy. And on evenings when I sat on the porch with a cup of tea, watching the hydrangeas bloom, I knew I had done the right thing. Revenge doesn't always mean shouting matches or public scenes. Sometimes, it's simply protecting what's yours and refusing to apologize for it. In the weeks that followed, I slowly realized just how much emotional space my family had been taking up in my life. It was not just about the physical room they occupied in my grandmother's house, but the constant pressure, the unspoken rules that I should always bend, always be the one to give in, always be the one who sacrificed my comfort so they could have theirs. Now, with the hallways empty and the kitchen once again holding my grandmother's china, I could breathe differently. I spent evenings walking through each room, touching the walls I had painted, running my fingers over the wooden banister I had refinished, and feeling an overwhelming sense of ownership. This was not just a structure with memories. It was a testament to every hour I had worked, every boundary I had fought to keep, and every piece of myself I had poured into preserving what she had built. I knew that if I had given in that night at the dinner table, I would have lost more than a home. I would have lost a part of my identity that could never be replaced. One rainy evening, months after they left, I found myself sitting by the upstairs window in the little reading nook I had created. The sound of the rain hitting the ivy outside mixed with a faint smell of freshly brewed tea in my hands. Ivy, my rescue dog, curled up beside me with a content sigh, and for the first time in a long while, there was no lingering tension in the air, no sudden knocks on the door, no passive-aggressive remarks waiting for me in the kitchen. I thought about my grandmother, about how she had known exactly what she was doing when she put my name on that deed. She had seen the same patterns I had endured my entire life. The favoritism, the manipulation, the way Lauren could charm everyone until it was time to actually contribute. And in that moment, I realized this was not just about winning against them. It was about living fully in the space she had trusted me with, about honoring her faith in me, and about finally choosing peace over toxic obligation.